you know, if you've been watching my channel and you haven't subscribed, you really should, because if you do and you ring that notification bell, you will be notified when I publish videos, and then that way you won't get left behind. Also, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section below, and because I always answer questions. So on to this strike that you can never get, or I shouldn't say never, rarely can you get it, but if you can negotiate your way with the umpire to get it, you're going to win a lot of games. The strike I'm talking about is the 6-foot high strike. Very rarely will an umpire call a strike for a pitch that's 6 feet high. Most of the time it has to be at least 7 feet high for them to call it a strike, or they will call it flat, which really takes away some of your game, actually a lot of your game, because I was watching a game the other night and almost all the balls that get hit out of the park, they're like belt high, you know, mid thigh to belt high, and those balls get pounded. And a lot of times, you know, those umpires will not call a 6-foot strike. As a matter of fact, I was watching the video and I slowed it down. I did a few calculations based on the arc of the pitch, and they were calling flat pitches that were 7 feet high. And ASA and UTRIP both say in the rule book that a legal pitch has to be at least 6 feet high. Now, if you can get that 6-foot pitch, or at least 6.5 feet, that ball will cross the plate about knee high. Actually, it'll cross the plate a little bit below knee high, and you know, it gives you a better chance of keeping the ball in the park. The other thing too is I noticed a lot of these batters will kick the chalk line out at the front of the box, and of course, you know, they never get called for stepping out of the box. They're stepping out of the box at least a foot in the front, and again, that takes away the low pitch. So this is one of these tricky areas where you really don't want to argue with the umpire, and I have a little trick here I'll share with you in just a minute on how to try to get that call. A lot of times, you know, you'll throw a pitch and you'll miss the corner by an inch, right? I mean, that pitch will be off the corner by an inch and they will not give you the call, and you're always sort of negotiating with the umpire. And I have a video on how to deal with umpires, how to talk to them, how to communicate with them. You can't really argue balls and strikes. What you have to do is you have to come up with a strategy of trying to get a few calls. Maybe by the middle of the game or late in the game, you can get a few, you know, 6-foot 6-inch calls, especially if you can put the ball on the black of the plate, on the back of the plate. If you can put the ball, you know, within 3 inches of the back of the plate, and they will give you a 6-foot high pitch, then you have a good chance of being competitive. But if they force you to pitch that, throw that ball up there, you know, 7.5 feet high, and then they let the batter kick the chalk off the front of the batter's box so they can, you know, get out of the box by a foot or 18 inches on the front, well, you know, you can't throw anything in there, you know, under mid-thigh high. You just can't do it because they're taking away all the low stuff. It's discretionary on the umpire's part. It's not by the rule, because the rule says the batter has to stay in the box, and the rule says you get a 6-foot high pitch. And it does you no good to get into a fight with him or start arguing, because then he'll take away whatever you are getting. So here's the trick I was talking about. What I've done before, and I've been somewhat successful with this with some umpires, is I will go to them and say, you know, I'm 6'1", and with my cleats on, I'm about 6'2", and my hat sticks up a little bit, right? So, you know, in my uniform with my helmet and everything, I might be 6'3", right? And when I pitch the pitch, you've seen my videos on how I finish. I get down a little bit, but on my release and on the way to the plate, I'm still standing up pretty straight, so I'm almost 6 feet high, the top of my helmet. Now, what I might do in a casual kind of way is I might say the guy's name is Joe. Hey, say, Joe, it seems like to me there's some daylight between the bottom of that pitch and the top of my head. And you know, maybe Joe is like 6'3", you know, he's one of the big guys, and he's standing back there, he's not stooped over, and you know, I can see daylight between the bottom of the ball and the top of his head. So if he's 6'3", and I see 6 inches or 8 inches of daylight, then guess what? That pitch is at least 7, you know, it's 7 feet high, and he's calling it flat. And I see this happen all the time. You know, you're not going to argue with him and say it's legal. Don't say, hey, Joe, that's a legal pitch because it's 6 feet. All you have to do is say, Joe, I'm just going to make my case. That pitch is 6 feet. You call it the way you want. I mean, you know, you're the umpire. You have the last word. But I'm just telling you, if you watch that pitch, it's 6 feet high, at least 6 foot 6 inches. And I'm not getting the call. So, you know, just think about it. And, you know, he'll say, well, it's flat, but he'll start thinking about it. Believe me, he'll start thinking about it. And next one that goes over and he wants to call flat, he's going to think, man, there was some daylight under that pitch. So what he may never give you a 6 foot pitch, but believe me, he'll start giving you pitches that are lower, and those lower pitches give you a better chance to get the ball, keep the ball down, get more ground balls. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and leave questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. And we'll see you next time. Bye.